The streets are talking. You are now listening to The Box Out, tri-state area basketball talk at its best. And now your hosts, Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Let's get it.
From NJ to BK and the world, this is The Box Out here on the One Podcast Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple, Yahoo, all of the stuff. My name is Kahlil Thomas. Joining me in just a few minutes will be Jason Cordner from Brooklyn, New York. And our opening tip tonight, before we get into the March Madness and the craziness and the conference tournaments and all the madness starting up, i.e. when Jason and I begin to give a shit about college basketball, it's about Ben Simmons. And listen, Ben Simmons, from the time he came into the league, and he played at LSU for a year, essentially quit on the team. There's a documentary about his year at LSU, which did not make him look good at all during that year of being at LSU, and his subsequent being drafted by Philadelphia #1 and all that stuff. The first couple of years of Ben Simmons' career, you just looked at him and his skill set, and I think the comparisons were young Magic, right? Big man who could run the floor, he could pass. His shooting was always kind of not what it should be, but the assumption was he would work on it, it would get better, and he would turn into a quality NBA player with some practice, with some work. He had to put the work in to become that really great player in the NBA that everyone just thought he would. He had the skills already. Great defensive player. You want to talk about a lockdown defender. That was Ben Simmons the first couple of years of his career. But the offense never came along, and his shooting never got better. And just seemed like that was always the missing link for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons' career was defined and has always been defined by his offense or lack thereof. Eventually, he got into his own head, and offensively, his numbers dropped even worse to the point where he was missing foul shots. He didn't want to shoot the ball. Think back to the playoff series a couple years ago when he had a wide open layup and decided to pass the ball off. That became the lasting image of Ben Simmons in Philadelphia before he got traded to Brooklyn in the James Harden trade. Comes to Brooklyn, doesn't play. And that's been the story of Ben Simmons in Brooklyn this entire time. His whole career in Brooklyn has been Ben Simmons is here, but not playing. The Nets made such a big deal about Ben Simmons this season, coming into the season, how big a contributor he's going to be. He looks good. He's ready to go. I saw some tapes, like we do every summer, of Ben Simmons shooting in gyms, and he looked good. Ben Simmons looked great in the summertime. Ben Simmons looked like Steph Curry between the months of June and August. And in September, goes away. Coming to the season, everyone had high hopes, gets hurt again. And now he's had his second back surgery in 3 years. So his season's over. And I think the conversation has to be not just is his season over, is his career over? Are we talking about a what-if story of Ben Simmons? Are we talking about a player that he had it, it was there, and he just could not finish the job? He could not do it. Because the more you look at it and the more you examine his career, and you almost want to forget about the first year or two in Philadelphia, because Philadelphia, obviously, you had the tank and you had the rebuild and you had the process, and you almost want to forget about those first couple of years and say, you know what? He was still kind of learning. But the flashes you saw in those first years were like, oh my God, if he could only learn how to shoot, perennial all-star. That was the argument. That was the conversation. If Ben Simmons could pick up an offensive game somewhere, whether it be shooting long range, whether it be a post game, a floater game like Emmanuel Quickly, something, anything offensively that he can kind of put his hat on, you had a futuristic Magic Johnson. Think about Magic, 6'8", 6'9", run the floor, pass the ball. Magic can shoot. Magic wasn't the best shooter. Magic Johnson was not a great shooter, right? If you think about his numbers, he was not a great shooter. But when you needed a big shot from Magic Johnson, you knew you can get the ball to Magic, and he would knock that shot down. Or in the worst case scenario, he would take the shot. You knew that. Earl, thank you so much. Earl, in the chat, confidence comes from within. Kobe believes he was Jordan reborn. Nobody could change his mind on that, so he became the second best shooting guard ever, only second to his idol. Confidence, you're right. Confidence plays a role in this game. And that's any sport. That's any job, any profession. That's anything. Confidence plays a role in everything. And once your confidence is shot, it is hard for you to rebound. And you don't want to go down this path, and I want to go there because, fuck it. Confidence is big, and when you lose it, it's hard to get that back. Especially if, and I don't want to call Ben Simmons weak-minded, weak-willed, but if you're not, I want to word this right because I don't want to say I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm really kind of searching for words. If you don't believe in yourself and don't believe your own hype, I feel like it's hard to regain confidence if you lose it. I feel like you have to have that inner, what's that, the last dragon, that you have to have that inner glow. Ben Simmons, I think after year 3 in Philly, lost that glow somewhere, right? Ben Simmons was no longer Bruce Leroy after year 3. Ben Simmons was not that guy. And I think if you're not strong-minded, you're never going to get that confidence back and get that glow back. As I welcome in Jason Corner from Brooklyn, New York. Jay, what's going on, bro?
Not much. I was making sure our credentials are good for the garden tomorrow because you know how Dolan gets.
Yeah. Listen, you got some sushi. So Jason and I, obviously, if you listen to the show, watch the show, we talk about arena food constantly because, that's what we do. And Jason sent me a picture from, was it Georgetown St. John's at the Garden?
Georgetown St. John's, yep.
And I saw his plate. And usually the Garden is stingy as hell with their food and the quality. This dude came here with some sushi on his plate. I was like, what? The Garden giving out sushi now? I'm like, I got to go back there.
It's better days, better days.
Oh, my God. So I started the show, opened up about Ben Simmons, the second back surgery in 3 years. And I think that the question I'm kind of already running in my head is, are we seeing, one, his career being done, and two, is this one of those NBA what ifs?
Yeah.
Based on what he could have been? Because I said, coming out of LSU, we already knew he was kind of a nozzle, kind of a douche. But defensively, great. Could run the floor, could pass. The only thing that people were looking for was offense, and we just never got the offensive game. And now we're looking at a player who is going to be out the rest of the season and is going to be out probably at the beginning of next season. Is he done? Or could we say, okay, maybe this surgery is the one to kind of get him back?
I'm not going to believe it until I see it. So I'm going to say he's done. I think he's a lemon he's the NBA lemon. He's like, I think about all the guys who had major injuries like Tracy McGrady or, players like that ill. They always bounce back. This guy seemed like he's mentally weak and he can't catch a break. And that's just a bad combination for, today's athlete. And we kind of saw his douchiness of the way he handled LSU situation. That should have been an omen of how his mentality was, but it wasn't. Everybody kind of gloried past that. His first 2 years in Philly looked good. But when he got to some adversity in Philly, he checked out mentally. And he's never been the same since. What has he done in a net uniform that allocates to us that he's going to be an NBA player going forward? Because once his contract is done, I think he's not even getting a veteran minimum look. He may not even get a G League look. he's going to have to like really prove himself to be an NBA player after his contract runs out, because no one's going to take a gamble on him.
You know what's funny? I said the same thing about LSU in that documentary about how
that documentary is very telling. Very telling.
You watch it and you're like, damn. I'm like, that's a bad league. Because he says he just quit on that team. He knew he was going, which, you know, you're a college basketball player. You know you're getting drafted. You don't really give a shit. So you'll quit when you need to quit. He literally just flat left this team. So automatically, you know, yeah, he's not a great guy, but damn, he's good. Like what if? And I'm listen, the Magic Johnson comparison was there for him. And I said it before you came on, you know, he saw a lot of magic in him. The only thing I was missing was offense. And Magic Johnson was not a great shooter. Magic Johnson was not Mark Price in the 80s, like hitting threes. But when the Lakers needed a big shot, they can give it to Magic and go, Magic just go, that's mine. I got that. You knew that was coming from Magic, and you said it. And I try not to say it, but I'm glad you said it, and people on the chat said it too. Bruce, what's up? He said it. Ben Simmons is mentally weak. He's just a mentally weak player, mentally weak person. You mentioned the adversity. It's hard when you lose your confidence. I was saying that it's hard to get it back if you don't have that inner glow. You don't have that Bruce Leroy in you. And he does not understand that. He cannot get that back. From June, July, and August, dude was like Steph Curry in the gym. But training camp starts, he can't hit a shot. And at some point, you really have to figure out, listen, this ain't me. This is my game. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play defense. I'm going to ball handle, and I'm not going to shoot. I think the idea that everyone was still waiting for him to develop a jump shot in year 5, year 6, including me, including you, I think we made the mistake. It was like, it could happen. It could happen. It's never going to happen. He is who
False.
he is.
Mark Fultz changed his career after everyone thought he was a bust in Philly to be a solid role player in Orlando. You would have at least thought Ben Simmons could have did something with the Nets. And we didn't even talk about Kyrie and KD Nets. We're talking about like this version of Nets, where he could have been a great facilitator, playmaker, but he's not even doing that. And this should show you how much of a douchebag he is, because we all talk about mental health and all that kind of stuff flowing in the NBA and floating around all the sports. He could have been a poster child of that. He could have came out after not wanting to take a shot in Philly, be like, hey, listen, I got mental problems, whatever the case may be. But he didn't want to do that. He pretty much made it seem like he was mentally tough at the time, when we come to find out years later, and he wasn't.
So it seems, Bruce, he's not Magic Johnson. He's Tragic Johnson. I agree with that.
At least Tragic Johnson would try. This guy's like, I'm not even touching it.
Well, even you saw the games he played this year, and my side hustle is the S Network, and so I watch a lot of net games, and you just watch him play, and like he didn't even try to shoot the ball. There was never a time when you watch him play this year, you're like, oh, that's an open. No, he ain't gonna take that. Oh, drive to the basket. Oh, I'm gonna pass that ball up. It just seemed like he was like, I'm not gonna try to shoot the ball. If there's a rebound in the paint and I'm gonna grab it and put it back up, I'll put that in. I'll do putbacks. And that was his game. Pass the ball, play some defense, and putbacks. That's what he turned
into. Question for you. Do you think he doesn't try and he's mentally weak because we live in a social media era where he's afraid of becoming a meme?
I think he was a meme when he passed up that layup in the playoffs. I think that still lurks in his head. I think that right there, that and then the aftermath of that, of how just inside the NBA and ESPN and like people just clowned Ben Simmons for months after that. And I feel like that's still in his head. I feel like that moment is still in there, and he sees it, and people still call it. People still call back to it. So I just think mentally he's shot, and the best he can do. And you said it, and maybe not a minimum of that minimum. I know Bruce said in the chat, somebody's going to take a chance on him because he is still 6'10". He can still play, if he's healthy, can still play good defense. Is he a starter in the NBA? Hell no. Is he your third guy off the bench? Definitely.
I don't know, man. I mean, Tibbs, he'll be 13th on Tibbs' bench right now. I'll tell you that much. And that's if he was healthy.
Earl makes a good point. When Dennis Rodman stopped shooting after he lost love for the game, he became Hall of Fame defensive and rebound player. No excuses.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Rodman Rodman's besides smelling like garbage truck water, like Shaq referred to him. I think Rodman kind of knew his role had to change, and he kind of assimilated to that role. If you tell Ben Simmons rebound, play defense, and just beat it and clean up the glass, will he take that role? Will he take that in and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do? I don't think so. I don't think Ben Simmons is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to shoot a grab rebounds. I don't think that's his game. I don't think that he's going to want to do that and assimilate to that.
If he wants to still eat shrimp and lobster and all that good high-end quality of life after his contract expires, he will accept that role. That's the only way he'll do it. Other than that, he's not going to find a home in the NBA.
Well, right now, the Nets are in a weird spot because, one, they have no – let's talk about the Nets next. I was going to talk about them later, but I think this is probably the best time to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and the dumpster fire that's happening across the street from a really cool mall. That mall is pretty nice. I like the mall near Barclays. He has 1 year left. Ben Simmons does $40 million on his deal. They have no first-round draft picks next year. They committed a lot of money into Mikal Bridges, into Cam Johnson. Cam Thomas is going to want to get paid because Cam Thomas is their de facto number one, which is a scary concept. Where do the Nets go from here? Because you have a defective player in Dennis Rodman. Bridges doesn't look like the guy you thought he was at the end of last year. If your number one option and your number one is going to be Cam Thomas, and Cam Johnson is not starting, he's pissed he's not starting. You don't know where he is in the rotation. You have an interim head coach, Kevin Ollie, who is not going to get this job. Let's kind of keep it 100. It's not his job. And then a bunch of just random ass pieces on the team. If you're the Nets GM, what do you do with that team? Because I feel like you're kind of out of options right now.
Yeah, you kind of got to write it out because you kind of like, you really can't take on salary. And your best bet is probably still gutted a little bit. Like you might have to really decide who you want to anchor your future around. If it's just going to be Bridges, it's going to be Cam Johnson or Cam Thomas. Who are you going to move? Which one of those players you can move and try to get a little bit of assets back? And honestly, I think this is going to happen. I think Phoenix is going to implode. So you might as well wait till those assets kick in a couple of years. So I think for the Nets, I think management-wise, they're just going to ride the wave, and they're going to have to face facts. They're going to be bad for a couple of years.
So the Nets payroll, you know what? Guess what the Nets payroll is right now for this season.
Whew. Damn, I was gonna say it was pretty high, but I'm gonna say that's probably because of Ben Simmons. Damn, I don't know. 200 million?
Less.
150.
$155.5 million.
Okay, it's better than I thought. Okay.
And you look at, but even that is better, obviously. You look at who they have, all right? Ben Simmons is making 37.8 this year. Cam Johnson making 25.6. Bridge making 21.7. Dorian Finney-Smith's making 13.9. Dennis Schroeder's making 12.4. Claxton's making 9.6. Thaddeus Young's making 8. Noah Kalani's making 3. Tyreek Whitehead 2.9. Dennis Smith 2.5. Bates Diop 2.3. Lonnie Walker 2.3. Cam Thomas 2.2. You're gonna have to pay him eventually because he's your guy. Day'Ron Sharp 2.2. There's a lot of money, and I didn't realize. I'm looking at the salaries now. Ben Simmons' contract has a 15% trade kicker in it.
Damn.
So you're stuck. You are stuck with Ben Simmons with that trade kicker, which was I'm assuming that was the Philly deal, Philly end of it. But
listen,
you
they
can't
were stuck
trade.
with that limit regardless.
Yeah,
you're
stuck with Ben Simmons next year. So at this stage of the game, in next year's salary, they have $134 million already confirmed. So don't know what the hell you do if you're the Nets. You can't just break it down because there's so many guys making so much money. You can't trade a Ben Simmons for $40 million plus the trade kicker. Cam's making 23 points. Sorry, Cam Johnson. I gotta justify Cam's. Cam Johnson making 23.6. Bridges making 23.3. Dorian Finney-Smith, if he stays, is 14.9. Schroeder's making 13. You can't move anybody. Bridges looks like a number 3 option. I know going into the offseason, I'm like, Kyle Bridges is good. I think we were both high on Bridges. Like, okay, build around Bridges. That's the guy. Build around him. The last 3 games I've watched, he seems to say, okay, yo, Cam Thomas, just do you, man. I'll sit in the corner.
You know where his heart's at. His heart's with the Villanova boys. He want to be across the bridge with the rest of them.
That's the question. Would you make that deal if you're the Knicks, where you would have a lineup of a Brunson, a DiVincenzo, a Bridges, a Randall, a Mitch? That would be your starting 5. Would you do that?
I would do that for 2 first-round picks. Absolutely. Help my fellow New Yorker out. Absolutely. For 2,
so in my head,
I'm only giving up 2. I'm only giving up 2 first rounders. Only 2.
I'm in my head running this through my head right now, thinking like the bench lineup and like how Josh Hart's your 6th man, and then you have Hartenstein come off the bench, Deuce McBride come off the bench. That's 8.
Well,
Tibbs Lindell's 9.
He's gonna have to push it to 10. He's gonna have to figure this out.
I mean, maybe not, because Alec Burks looks like shit. So maybe you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And keep it 9.
Yeah.
Like I felt so good about Alec Burks coming back, and it's been a hell of a disappointment. I'm like, I don't know. Like, what happened to you? Like, we took you out of purgatory, brought you to a playoff team, and you're playing like you're still in purgatory.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. You still feel like he's still in Detroit. He'll be all right.
But he needs to get out of that shit. He needs to get out of that shit because it's getting annoying.
But I feel like this rebuild for the Nets is going to be a lot more harder than it was back in 2017, that 2018 time period where they kind of like it was a makeshift of bad contracts, but they made it work. It's not going to be this easy this time. I think they really have to wait out Phoenix downfall and hopefully those picks become something.
Well, Earl mentions a buyout. I never asked your opinion, actually, in all the time you've done this show. How do you feel about buyouts in the NBA? Because I feel like that's a good nuclear option to use, but I've never really been a big fan of just buying guys out. I move them or I'm going to play you and just watch.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm a little confused with the buyout because don't you have like one player per year that you could do that to, and not everybody does that?
Yeah, I feel like no one really buys guys out.
Yeah, because it's like, why do you want to eat that contract, And yeah, I never understood the benefit of that. And it seems like, it benefits the player less than really so the organization because they're still on the hook to pay all that money. I'm not a real big fan of it. I'm cool with the trading, especially, you know what? I rather trade players that has 1 year left on their option than the buyout market. That's just my opinion. If you know you're not going to re-sign that player, then you try to get some assets for him instead of you eating the salary and then letting him go.
I.e., like the Giants losing Saquon Barkley. Fuck you, Saquon. Still angry about that. Yeah, listen, I feel like this is where you hire to get a first-year coach. I feel like no experienced coach is going to go to Brooklyn and go, I'm going to be here for the rebuild for five years. I'm like, this rebuild is going to take a long time. So, unfortunately, you have to go the assistant coach route and go, all right, we got to get a young assistant coach who we have to give time to. I think that's an important part of it. You have to give time to and let him just sit through the rebuild. I think that's a big thing.
I agree, but like, who are you going to get though? Who's going to,
I mean, there's a lot of.
See, I personally think they need to go apologize to Kenny Atkins. Like, it wasn't our call. We listened to Kyrie. We listened to Kyrie. That should be enough said right there. Bend the knee, bring him back,
Kenny.
Let him rebuild the culture you had before you let the NWO, Kyrie and KD come over and just corrupt your organization. That's what I would do. But I don't know if that's what the Nets are going to do.
We miss you, Kenny. Come back and help us, Kenny. Please help.
My man is chilling next to Steve Kerr. He doesn't want no headaches of being a head coach, even though I think he could be a head coach in this league still. That's just what I would do if I was the Nets.
Okay. Totally off topic here. Bruce, you did not want to pay about him, Saquon. Him is better. Let's not use his name. Let's call him him. You paid Daniel Jones. Can't be mad at the dude. Listen, yes, I didn't want to pay. This is completely off topic, but fuck it, we're going there. I did not want to pay Daniel Jones. However, franchising Daniel Jones makes no sense because the whole salary goes onto the payroll. If you sign him to a contract, you can guarantee a lot of money up front, and it doesn't hurt you too much. Unfortunately, the Giants screwed up with Saquon and didn't sign him. Saquon also screwed up and didn't take $12 million off him in the first place. So that's on him as well. Both sides suck. Giants should have paid Saquon because he had another 2-3 years in him. I think you give him a 3-year contract. I think he plays up 3 years, and you kind of see what happens after 3. Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. We're going to cut him anyway after this season, so it's whatever. My issue is you have multiple options on the table. I think the money is pretty similar with Philly, Houston, and I think there's a third team. You pick the Eagles because, you're close to home and blah, 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 blah. That felt spiteful to me. That felt a little spiteful. Like, I'm going to pick the Eagles so I can face the Giants twice a year and just beat the brakes off of them. Just to show them that, I should still be there. That's all. Get your bag. Get the bag. Go get your money. You're a running back. Your career's short. I get it. But, and I know my mom's probably watching, fuck the Eagles.
Well, speaking of green teams in sports, I kind of feel the same way about the Boston Celtics. I feel like they had their eyes on Porzingis the moment he looked good in the Knicks uniform. And I knew by some crook or some hook, they were going to get him, and they got him now. And now they think they're champion aspirations because of Porzingis, which I knew, especially listening to Bill Simmons. If you listen to him long enough for years, he's covered Porzingis, and he kind of felt like he would be he would be a Celtic player down the road. So, yeah.
By the way, that was a great transition. That was a Mike Greenberg type transition. That was impressive. I appreciate that.
Got you covered, man. Got you covered.
Well, speaking of the Celtics, I want to talk to you about this because I feel like, I watched Lakers Kings last night, and I feel like the seedings aren't going to change. I feel like where everyone is right now, I think besides maybe the Eastern Conference with that 4 through 6, you might see some flip-flopping, but for the most part, who's ever 4, 5, and 6, you might move a spot here and there, but I feel like everything's pretty much set. I don't think there's anything drastic going to happen between the end of now and the end of the season. Lakers Warriors looks to be your first play 9-10 matchup in the West. At this point right now, who would you give the edge to in that game? Because I saw this early today. I'm like, that's an interesting one because I feel like the Warriors actually been playing better, and the Lakers are still on this like up and down. You don't know who they are trajectory. They got beat by Sacramento last night. They got swept by Sacramento for the whole season.
Man.
Who has a favorite, Lakers versus Warriors?
I'll probably take the Warriors, only because I trust that the Warriors championship core, will have the muscle memory to withstand an AD and LeBron-led attack. I think outside of those guys, I think they'll shut down everybody. Then you factor in Chris Paul now in the mix, Kuminga. I think Warriors will be fine. I'm not really sold on the Lakers outside of LeBron, AD. Russ is hit or miss now, and I don't really trust Russell and everyone else. I just think the Lakers can be had, and I think the Kings beating of them last night was an omen to. I think they're going to be one and done. I think the Lakers are going to be one and done this season.
In the East right now, the season ended today. You have 7-8 matchup, Pacers Heat. Think about this for a second. If the Heat beat the Pacers, they get the Celtics first round.
Well, that's what they want.
And we talk about. Listen, we still don't trust the Celtics. I think no one in this chat right now trusts the Celtics. I could imagine the Heat, like you said, they want that. They want that 8, and they want that play-in. They want that doubt. Everybody have that doubt about them. Go to Boston and beat the brakes off the Celtics. I think if that happens, we're going to see a number one seed dropped in the Eastern Conference.
Scary Terry going back to Boston, especially getting pumped up with Butler Juice and Riley and all those guys. Hey, listen, that's a horrible matchup. That's probably the worst first round matchup that Celtics want. They may think they want it, but this ain't the KD Kyrie blood Nets going into Boston Garden for game one. They're gonna come in there and they're just gonna be gangbusters like Miami always do. They're mentally tough.
In another matchup right now, Knicks Magic. Knicks will win that series. The most interesting series, I think, right now, if the season ends today, which is how it's going to end up. Bucks, your 3 seed. Sixers, your 6 seed.
Whew.
Bucks playing really well. Sixers should get Embiid back for the playoffs, but no one really knows. It's kind of this up in the air thing. With Embiid, even at 80%, how big an impact is that against the Bucks? Or is that Embiid at 80 is like not worth him playing?
It's not even worth him playing. I don't think it's worth him playing, especially if he's going up against a healthy Giannis, Lopez. You know, to deal with those boys alone, if you're not like 85%, I wouldn't even chance it. I would consider this season a lost season anyway. That's just how I would look at it. But you know, they got Nick Nurse. We'll see how his coaching matches up against Doc, who we know Doc is a choke artist, but that's neither here nor there. I think the Bucks would. This is probably the best matchup for the Bucks in the first round. I think if they had to play the Pacers, I think the Pacers beat them 3 times this year already. If they had to play Miami, it'd be problems. I think this is the best first round matchup they could look for. It would be like the 76ers.
This is Nick Nurse would coach around Doc. I agree with that.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then Philly winning. Hold on, I get this up. Philly's winning because
Doc is Doc.
Doc is Doc. That's
Doc will not blow another. He will not blow another 3-1 lead. No way.
I hope not. The last series I want to talk about, if the season ended today, Clippers Pelicans. Now we have an injury. I think Kawhi's out for the Clippers, which we called. You got Russell Wilson. Shout out Russell Wilson, Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Westbrook, he's out. Pelicans. How do you feel about the Pelicans? Because I'm watching them more, and I'm kind of keeping my eye on them more. And 13 games over 500, impressive, great, awesome. I still don't know who they are. I don't know what kind of team they are. I don't know what their philosophy is, what the style is. They play ball. That's all I know. They come out, they get ready to play. Zion's an X factor every single night, whether it be good or bad. What's your feel of the Pelicans right now?
I think they're like, I don't want to say they're a piece away. They just need to keep building up the chemistry. I think they need, you know what? You know how like some teams are like a piece away before you can say they're a real contender? I think the Pelicans just need to play as a cohesive unit. Give us a good showing this year in the playoffs, and then let that be the building block for next season. I just think they just need to get the chemistry down pat. I think they got enough pieces to contend in the West, but I think they're a year away from that. Them in Oklahoma have to give us good showings in the playoffs before we take them to the next step. That's just in my opinion.
So right now, at the playoffs start, these are some of the matchups. Like I said, I don't think nothing's really going to change. I think the 4, 5, 6 in the East, I think you're going to see a lot of flipping. Hopefully, the Knicks get that 4. So you don't think the Knicks could catch? Well, I don't think they catch Cleveland. No.
What, 3.5? The three behind Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm. I feel like just get comfortable in 4. Just get 4 because right now OG came back and you saw the difference when he came back. Randall is starting to work out, so you get him back. Yeah. Listen, solidify that 4, shut it down, lock it down, so you can start resting guys leading into the playoffs. Because Tibbs is running those minutes again. Tibbs is starting to play guys 35, 40 minutes, and that's gonna hurt them completely. So I feel like go left Randall. Yes, Bruce, I know. You just need bodies. I want guys who can score points. Like Bogdanovich get a lot of playing time, and that scares the shit out of me. Like you don't need to play that much. So just get guys. You did Georgetown St. John's on was that Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday. I want to say this. It almost seems, I texted you this, since Rick Pitino talked shit about his team, they've actually played better. It's weird how this happened. They played better. They played Seton Hall in the Big East tournament today, smoked them. So as of last night, they were Joe Lunardi's last 4 in. Seton Hall's one of the, I guess, the Dayton teams in that first 4.
Right.
Or first 8, or whatever they call it now. You know, is this a matter of the players like, fuck coach, we're going to play in spite of him? Or was this like actually a masterful kind of thing that Patino's like, I'm just going to shit all over him and see what happens?
Jedi mind trick, baby. Jedi mind trick. I think it's a combination of both, but it's working. And let's see. I think they have a good showing throughout the rest of this tournament. Not saying they got to win it, but they have a good showing. Survive maybe until Saturday. Maybe they're in.
So Seton Hall losing today, does that hurt them? Because I feel like
I think that hurts a little bit.
Does that put them in that last 4 in or that first 4 out though? Because right now they're in. According to Joe Lunardi last night, 2 a.m.
Last 4 in.
They were in. Last 4
I think last 4.
So
yeah.
So right now, as of 2 a.m. this morning, last 4 was Colorado, Virginia, St. John's, Indiana State, who I want to see in the tournament because that big white guy with the goggles is awesome. Well, first 4 out: Texas A&M, Wake Forest, New Mexico, Villanova, who almost lost to DePaul last night. So I think them almost losing to DePaul, who has 3 wins, I think hurt them completely. I think Villanova had to get one real dominant win, and they almost got beat by DePaul. Your next 4 out: Pittsburgh, Kansas State, Providence, Iowa. Right now, Duke is down. I want to go back real quick and see what's happening. Because I think the last time I checked, Duke was losing. Yes, they're losing to NC State at halftime, 35-32. NC State, 19-14. I think they're out right now. We've already seen instances where teams in other smaller conferences have already won and fucked up the bracket.
Yep.
This is where we start kind of giving a shit about it. What are your thoughts on Duke at this point and how good they are? I don't think Duke, especially after North Carolina, got to beat them twice.
Yeah, I think they're probably.
I don't think Duke is as good as they are.
I think they'll probably get a 5. I think Duke will probably get a 5 seed in the tournament, and I think they're like, at best, make it to round the second round. I won't put them anything past that, but I definitely see them being like a 5 seed in the tournament.
Right now, once again, as of this morning at 2 a.m., Joe Lunardi has Duke has a 3 seed.
Too high.
His 5s are San Diego State, BYU, Nevada, and South Carolina. I think South Carolina is better than Duke.
Okay.
I think Duke is on par with the San Diego State and BYU. I think that's what they're not going to be. I can see Duke losing. Bruce said in the chat, I could see Duke losing in the first round. I can completely see it.
Hey, they might lose in the first round. They might lose in the first round of the ACC tournament tonight.
I'm looking through right now. North Carolina, they're set up as a 2 seed, Bruce, who says they're going to be champion. So Lunardi has them in the East region. UConn will be 1, North Carolina 2, and 3 is Kentucky.
Kentucky, okay.
So the seat. We're like 3 days away from the brackets being released. So obviously a lot's going to change between now and Sunday, but some of these seedings that Lunardi has is just like, you can tell it's Power 5, just preferential, completely. It's embarrassing. Listen, Bruce said the quiet thing out loud. If you see us 3 white guys, you are not winning.
I mean,
unless Adolph Rupp is.
my mind went straight to Gonzaga, and I was like, no, they really didn't hang up a lot of banners.
No, I'm thinking Butler. Butler came close a couple times.
That was a Butler that could have beat Duke.
Yeah, Hayward's shot hit off the back. That was them.
Ooh, that.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting weekend. I feel it already. So you're doing Big East tomorrow.
Shout out to North Carolina. Shout out to North Carolina. I forgot that dude's name. He reminds me of Christian Laettner. So I feel like North Carolina finally has their Christian Laettner, and I forgot his name. Damn it.
I'll look it up and see if I can find it. I know who you're talking about, but the name is eluding me too, because I feel like I watch a lot of college basketball in the last 2 days, and a lot.
Same here. I got all my college basketball in this week.
Well, what was I watching last night? Oh, it was like 12:30 in the morning. I was watching. It wasn't Big West. It was the Big West Conference. No, it wasn't Pac-12. It was like, oh my God, some West Coast conference.
Okay.
And I can't remember who it was. I'm sitting here. It's like, why am I watching this shit? Like, what am I doing with my life that I'm up at 12:30 in the morning watching insert team here? Yes, I was watching AEW, Bruce. That was earlier. AEW with Mercedes. I watched that earlier, Bruce. I got you. But you sit up and he's watching it like, why am I watching this shit? Like, what is wrong with me? Where's my life gone that I'm up at 12:30 in the morning watching? I'm going to find a team. I got to find them because it's going to bother me if I don't find it. But you sit up because this is the week where you actually catch up and watch all this stuff. And you're like, my life has gone to shit. I'm up. Montana State. That's it. It was Montana State.
Okay.
And they are in the, I want to shout out the conference, the Big Sky Conference. That's it.
Big Sky.
The Big Sky.
Yeah.
That was my life. It was Montana State versus Montana. There you go. That old Montana. That was what I was doing last night. Just watching that.
No, I'll be at the Big East this weekend, where I'm pretty sure UConn's going to raise another Big East title.
So you don't think anybody can knock off UConn in the Big East?
No.
Damn.
Maybe Creighton. I'll give Creighton a fighting chance, but I think UConn would pull away late.
Damn, you're just crowning them already, huh? Damn.
Yeah. And I would love to see St. John's have a miracle run.
I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
I don't see that happening. But I mean, I'm curious about not just UConn winning, but if they win, how impressive they are winning. If they just sweep through, or is it going to be like a St. John's or a Marquette who's like, all right, we're going to play you hard. Obviously, they lost to Creighton. Creighton plays UConn well. So that will be the matchup if they get to the finals that like UConn probably does not want, because Creighton knows exactly. Seton Hall did too, but Creighton knows how to beat UConn. And UConn's like, we don't want to see them again. Or maybe they do. Maybe they do, actually. Maybe they want to see them again just to prove a point and say, that was once. Don't get arrogant. We got you this time. By the way, shout out to Sabrina Ionescu. Bruce mentioned in the chat. She got married. So shout out to her.
Oh, really? That's what's up.
Liberty Games are going to be on apparently Channel 5 in New York.
I saw that presser today. I was like, oh, okay.
So I'm like, that's big. And the Aces sold out all of their tickets for the upcoming season. The first WNBA team ever to sell out an entire season. Obviously not a lot of news. WNBA has kind of quieted down in the last couple of weeks, but going into the draft, we have Caitlin Clark going to the NCAA tournament. Iowa won the Big Ten. There's already people talking about how her game is going to translate to WNBA, and people are like, well, it's going to translate really well because they got shooters in the league. There's nothing but shooters right now in WNBA. So, how fast will her star rise in WNBA? Is it going to be a rookie year? Is it going to be an adjustment year? Is it going to be like she's going to be right smack dab in the middle of it?
Oh, she's going to be right in the middle of it. She's going to be out here guns blazing, expecting a lot from the Indiana fans. Ticket prices already like doubled to what they were last year. So I think it's going to be a lot of hype behind her training. I think she's going to deliver. I'm just surprised that she's coming out this year. I thought she would try to milk the NIL a little bit longer because I don't know what's going to happen with that pay scale in WNBA, but I feel like that's going to eventually change, and she's going to be one of the anchors to make it change.
Well, talking about that, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this because obviously the women's tournament is finally getting some play, and they can use the March Madness.
I feel like the women's tournament got. I feel like the women's
they have the
tournament
March Madness name.
I feel like that got more. That's gonna have. That has more fire. Not firepower, but star names compared to the men's tournament this year.
Clark will fade like Lonzo Ball.
No. Oh, Lonzo's cleared. Lonzo's cleared to play. No,
is he?
I think so. I think he's cleared for like either contact or to play again. I can't remember, but
probably contact at this point. You can't.
But no,
you can touch him a little bit, but that's about it. Don't do nothing else. Just bump him. Actually, speaking of women's basketball, how about South Carolina LSU brawling out? I forgot about that.
That was and the
brawl out too. There you go. First of all, let's set the stage in case you didn't see it. LSU South Carolina women's teams played for the SEC championship, and of course, it got a little salty because I feel like the two teams, as well as Dawn Staley and the coach of LSU who says the N-word, talks about how much they respect each other. It was salty. It was physical. Angel Reese was playing dirty. I will put it out there now. But Cardozo from South Carolina has some anger issues. I can say that about her. She has some anger issues.
For sure.
Pushing, shoving. Someone's brother jumped onto the court, ended up getting handcuffed. There's a huge brawl. Players leaving benches. I want to see them in the final game. That's what I want. I want to see LSU and South Carolina for the national championship.
I think
Clark. Forget Virginia Tech. I want to see them.
They're definitely going to play against at some point in this tournament.
I have to see this in. And the SEC, the conferences, yes, whatever. I want to see this team. I want to see these two teams compete for the Natty. It's time.
Okay, it's time.
NCAA, if you're watching, the selection committee, if you're listening to our podcast or watching us, make sure they're on total opposite ends of the bracket and make sure the paths converge somewhere in the middle. That's what we want. That's what the public wants.
Listen, this is the highest women's basketball has been in at least 20 years. They will not be foolish enough to have them in the same bracket. They got to be separated to potentially meet in the finals. That would be just bad booking if they did it any other way.
LSU coach is one vest away to be Trump VP. I can see that.
I can kind of see it.
I can
definitely see it. I can see it. She probably has one already.
Yeah, she has a Marjorie Taylor Greene feel to her. I can definitely see that.
But I can see her in some Kanye slides though. I don't see her in Trump's Trump's Air Force Ones.
No, not Trump's Air Force Ones.
Yeah, Nike might want to look at some copyright infringements on that.
Oh, what did the guy in Fox News say? Trump is related to the black community. Black people love sneakers. Like, oh my God, what is that? What are we doing? What have we done?
Well, this is where we at.
Anyway, men's tournament. They're talking about expanding it, and there's a really good piece on ESPN.com by Pete Thamel about essentially the soul of the tournament trying to be saved because we see the college football playoff. They were expanded to 12. Now it's already expanding to 16. It was expanded for 12 literally 2 days, and then they expanded to 16 again. It's talking about expanding the NCAA basketball tournament, the men's tournament, from 68 teams to 80 teams, which makes it terrible because at that point, just make it 300 and everybody in. What are your thoughts on the tournament expanding? Because I didn't like it when it went to 68. I thought 68 was ridiculous. What are your thoughts about it going to 80 eventually?
Not only is 80 ridiculous, but it's going to dilute my second favorite tournament, which is the NIT. So I do not need the NIT to be diluted, where we're going to get the 10 worst teams in the playing for that championship. I think I agree. I think 68 is too much right now. We don't need 80 because at the end of the day, a mid-major a Hofstra or a Howard is not winning the title. So we don't need to invite everyone to the dance. This is why you have the NIT. So I think they need to separate these things, keep it at like 68. No need to expand it because we ain't got the time to be filling out an 80-team bracket.
I mean, we talk about the NIT. The NIT itself has changed too because they're almost kind of saying, there's other tournaments that are going to be created with NIL money and players getting paid. So the NIT pretty much said in the fall, we really don't want, they didn't say this, but this is what the rule changes kind of said. We don't want mid-majors in this NIT anymore. We need big teams in the NIT to make the NIT feel special.
And that's how it used to feel.
But that's how Power 5 teams win the NIT. Right? Michigan wins it. I think St. John's won it a few years ago. Power 5 conferences usually win the NIT. You have a couple years where you have a mid-major win it and make that run, which is always cool to see. But the NCAA now said, we really want Power 5 teams to really be in this, and we want the NIT to become the tournament that can really second the NCAA tournament, because you're never going to touch March Madness, but you can at least be a step under. The NIT always felt like it was far below, even though it really wasn't. I feel like the idea of like the NIT is like Memphis. Penny Hardaway said, we're not accepting an NIT bid. And I'm like, so
that was a mistake.
So you're done? Like you going home? Like I'm pretty sure your players want to play. So 80 just seems like a lot. Like the talk of the first 4 out, that's the conversation on Sunday that we're going to have. Those first 4 out are not going to be in. And now the next 4 is going to be in. And the next 4 is going to be in. And then those last 4 out are the teams that really should be nowhere near the tournament. That's the problem we're having. We're going to have teams that should be nowhere near the NCAA tournament make the tournament because you have to fill 80 spots. And I think that's the problem with diluting the tournament, because you're going to have those first round games going to be bloodbaths, because you're going to have, a 18-win Clemson team going against, Duke in the first round when Duke has 5-star players everywhere and get blown out. So it's a money grab. And like talk about college sports all the time, all they care about is money.
All they care about is money, and we really don't need all these teams in this damn thing.
And the NIT's not at the Garden anymore, which pisses me off.
They
took it out the Garden, and I'm like, we're gonna put it in Vegas. They're like, oh Jesus, like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing now? So
speaking of which, is NC the tournament's coming this year, right?
Yeah, they'll be in Brooklyn first round.
Okay.
Which I want to go to, but I'm not sure if I could. I gotta check in with my wife on that one. See if I can get approval.
Okay.
So I'm gonna. This is the first time you're hearing this, Jay. We'll talk after the show. I want to see if we're around on Sunday. I know I'm working Sunday night. But I'm gonna see if I can double dip and do a show when the brackets come out. I gotta see what the net schedule looks like, because they're playing San Antonio. I think I gotta work, but I really want to have a look at the brackets when it first comes out, because I think, and this might be your issue too, you have a bracket Sunday and you look at it and you have an idea of where you want to go with it. But then by Thursday at like 11:30 a.m., you're like, it's some bullshit. And you start scratching shit out and trying to figure out what's going on. I think a first look at the bracket would help us both. And us filling out the bracket on the spot would help us both. And that would be our bracket. That would be our bracket that we're using for the whole tournament. No changes, no Wednesday night panic, nothing. This is what we're using. We're gonna, on every website we use for this bracket, we're gonna use the bracket that we created and do it that way. So we'll talk some more this weekend.
All right, I'm down for that.
Because I think my issue is Wednesday night, I'm like 5-12. I got a 12 winning. Oh my god! And then you just go through the whole bracket 18 times, and it's the biggest bullshit in the world. Real quick, the CEO, Mercedes Moné, premiered. I was hyped. I did think they should have saved her for the 9 o'clock hour and not put her on at first. Like, let the anticipation build. And then, because they had 1 million viewers at the first quarter, and then it dropped to 800.
Because everyone knows the AEW formula. You have them come out, get everybody hyped, and then we bring them back towards the end of the night, which they did. So that's the formula they've been using since CM Punk.
I would have waited kind of like, okay,
8 o'clock. 9 o'clock, yeah.
Yeah, 8 o'clock, let Joe and Wardlow fight for the title. But you know she's coming, and you can assume that it's going to be 9 o'clock. And you know everyone's going to come back at 9 and watch it and blah, 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 but whatever. I will say this. The AEW women's division, I could kind of put, I know Bruce is going to shit on this opinion. I'm just waiting for him to shit on it. I could put the AEW women's division up against WWE's right now. And I could say I could say AEW might have the edge. Am I wrong in saying that?
I'm not going to say you're not wrong. I'm going to say, Charlotte's on the bench. Charlotte's on the,
where she should be. I'm sick of her.
And I'm not even going to lie. I have high hopes on, you know what? I'm gonna give you the edge because I don't know what they're doing with Jade Cargill. I don't know what they're doing with her. Charlotte's on the fence. Naomi's already being buried already, and she just got back. So yeah, I'm not sold on Becky. Yeah, so I'm gonna Oscar's in the tag team. So yeah, so I'm gonna say AEW. AEW is the better product right now.
My only issue with AEW, I think this is for every division. There's too many people. Like, they got a lot of people signed. And I feel like you have to kind of start, okay, we got 25 here, 25 on it, 25 men, 25 women, and we're going to base the show on these 25. And then use Rampage as like your developmental show. ROH is online, so ROH is its own separate entity. We don't know what the hell's going on with that because I don't have Honor Club. But you have so many people. I feel like it's hard to kind of get everybody time. They got a lot of women wrestlers who I never see. I never see half the women they have signed.
So it's funny you mention that because at the end of AEW last night, it seems like Sasha's going after the TBS title.
Yeah.
So like she's not even going after the other. She's not even going after the main title. She's going after the television title in a sense.
Which you want to build that title up. You want to give. Oh God, what's her name? Who's I can't remember her name. The champion.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm losing completely. You want to give her a rub, like give her the match with Sasha. Mercedes. That she's gonna lose anyway. But give her that rub, and then you have the Willow thing because they have history, and eventually you get to because you want to keep Toni Storm going because the Toni Storm stuff is really funny. Like
it's really good. Her vignette is really good. I like it.
It's hilarious. It's just really, really funny.
Which she was very underused in WWE, by the way.
Yeah, like the way even when she came in AEW, I'm like, this ain't great. And then when she started kind of turning into this character, I was like, all right, let's let this rot out. Let's let this rock. I want to see where this goes. And now it's like chaos. It's like it's really funny. She's at the press conference talking about Wendy Richter, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, this is great. And Will Ospreay, I did not know. First of all, Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world. I did not know that he had promo skills like that. The promo he cut last night, top 5 promo of the year so far. And he has like a Cockney accent, which I thought I couldn't understand this man. Understood every word he said last night. It was like top 5 promo.
I mean, Seth is coming with the bars for The Rock. Talk about Mr. Midlife Crisis. I thought that was pretty hot too. But I see what you're saying. It's
unexpected from Ospreay because he's a good wrestler, but I feel like maybe it's a New Japan thing because New Japan they don't really cut promos. New Japan they just wrestle and do that.
Very true. Very true.
So
very true.
I think no one knew. I think Meltzer said that Triple H probably didn't realize that. Oh shit, he could talk too because the promo was really good last night. He's a face. He's a baby face, which I wasn't expecting either. So I have high hopes. I'm gonna watch. I'm watching SmackDown and Raws leading up to Mania. I'm still not sold on this whole Rock storyline. I still think it's stupid, and I still think it's risky having Roman and Cody wrestle night 1 and hope and pray that no one gets hurt for night 2. And Seth for that matter, because Seth's gonna wrestle too.
The only thing is, I feel like it's an paying homage to WrestleMania 1 with the tag team, but you're right. Seth has been hurt. You run the risk of running it back the next day, where everyone except for the Rock is wrestling twice. You're asking for a lot right there.
So I think they're kind of playing with fire a little bit, but like Triple H always says, let it play out. We're watching. God bless them all.
Oh wait a minute, we didn't give our best wishes to Rusev and Lana. They split.
Yeah, Rusev Day's over officially.
But I don't know if you heard the rumors.
Damian Priest.
She's been messing around with Judgment Day. Look at
that. Yeah, that's
you know when it was over? It was over when the Bobby Lashley angle happened, and then they said she was having an affair with Liv Morgan. I mean,
which she would have liked. I think Miro would have liked that. I'll be fine with that. That's cool. And she lives from Jersey, so it's even better. She's a Jersey girl. Okay, cool. That's cool. I'm gonna leave it there because I got some shit to say. I'm not gonna say because I feel like we get in trouble if I say anything else.
There you go.
Jason's always a great show, man.
Likewise.
So I'm gonna say this, and Bruce is gonna say something. We're gonna try to be back on Sunday at some point to talk about our brackets, the brackets that came out, the release brackets. Maybe fill them out on the spot so we don't have to mess with them anymore. So subscribe to our page. I'll drop my pen on the floor. Subscribe to our page, subscribe to Spotify, and then you get alerts when we're on, when we're live. So you'll know if we're coming on or not. Or check our respective Twitter, X, whatever things. At Kahlil and Thomas, at Busy J. We're all on X or Twitter or Instagram or whatever the hell you want to call it now. So Sunday night, maybe next Thursday night, definitely here on the One Podcast Network. For Jason Cordner, I am Kahlil Thomas. Thank you so much for watching, listening. We'll see you next week, maybe Sunday. Peace.
Peace.
This has been The Box Out with Kahlil Thomas and Jason Cordner. Subscribe now for the best tri-state area basketball talk.